Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a Valheim update video. Today we're going to be talking about the future of Valheim. I'm going to show you some of the biomes that are not finished currently in the game, and we're going to go over a brand new interview that releases details on the roadmap. If you don't know, they did post a roadmap of maybe what's to expect in the next year, but they've gone through more of them details, including mini bosses, brand new biomes, as well as a whole host of other stuff. So we're going to cover all of that and talk about the longevity of Valheim. Is it going to suffer the same fate as some other games that kind of died off because they didn't have enough content? Or will the grind and the way that it's quite hard to get through some of these areas keep this game a little bit more alive than some of the other big hitters we've had in the last year? I want your opinion, so make sure you watch the whole video. Don't forget to like and don't forget to comment. Leave some feedback. Tell me what you're loving about Valheim, or if you just want to see something added in the future. So an interview with PC Gamer a couple of days ago gave more details about what to expect. So it's only a few days after it's released that Valheim did post info about what to expect with roadmaps. Update 1 is going to include the Hearth and Home, Update 2 the Cult of the Wolf, Update 3 Ships in the Sea, and then Update 4 the Mistlands. But there wasn't a lot of detail and there still isn't a lot of dates around this. Now, I told you guys in a news video as well the other day that I expect some of these updates to drop in the following. Around March, maybe April, Hearth and Home. Around June, July, Cult of the Wolf. September, possibly October, Ships in the Sea. And then it may be even December or January that we get the final biomes added. Now, it might seem like a long time to have only 4 updates. The devs have said they're going to be updating the game every week or 2 weeks with small minor stuff. But these are the big expansion stuff, the free content that's going to be coming, by the way. Do also remember there's only currently 5 people working on Valheim. It's such a small team. Any expectations that we're going to get updates every month like Ark Survival Evolved, I think are going to be a little bit out of tune. And I definitely feel like you guys should know this. I hope I'm proved wrong. Maybe they've got some of this worked up. In previous posts on the community section, they've spoken about the game actually being 75% feature complete. So features mean the core basics, the survival elements, the crafting, the enemies, the world. And then they've also said they're about 50% though all over content done. So they're still going to add a bunch of stuff, but it will be within mostly the remit of what we've already seen. And that extra 25% that's missing could be something completely new added to the game. So bearing that in mind, and we've seen the actual roadmap, let's dive into this interview. So the Hearth and Home update is going to be more about placeables and food preparation for your home. There's going to be more recipes and there may be more additional build pieces. PC Gamer alludes that there will be definitely more crops coming hopefully, and I think that would be good too instead of just turnips and carrots. And although it's not a huge amount of details, it's still more than we had before. I had thought that maybe this would also include some improvements to the Horde mode, where enemies will attack your base, but not yet. I do kind of hope the new build pieces are defense tools, so we don't all have to just build moats. I would definitely like to see a little bit more variation in the gameplay in terms of how you defend your base. Now they were pretty quiet about Cult of the Wolf. They've just simply said it's going to be exploration and combat with some new and different encounters for the players. Honestly, I feel like they watched my video the other day, because this interviewer is literally going over the stuff and the stuff that I thought might be happening. It does look like they think it also has something to do with the mountain biome and with the Fenrir wolf. Apparently not a werewolf, as someone corrected me the other day. And then the third update will be the ships and seas. We're going to bring in some ship customization. Yes, just what I said it needed the other day as well. And they're going to flesh out the ocean biome a bit more. They've said since it's not as populated, I guess you could say, as the rest of the land biomes, so we want to do some more stuff to do out in the ocean. Now that could include, like I said, mini games, things to do while you're sailing, or it could simply be more variations of fishing, hunting certain creatures, more unique encounters with different types of sea creatures. It is hard to really make the sea actually interesting. Atlas, another survival game that has struggled to do that over the last 2 years. And since at the moment there's no mechanics to dive down into the water, it all has to be variations on enemies coming towards you or creatures. So yeah, it will be interesting. They've also alluded in this article that yep, indeed, the longship used to have colourful shields on the sides, but it got changed or removed for the early access launch. So hopefully they're going to be adding more stuff to that as well. And like I said, I would love to see them add a small little canoe. Make it out of leather and just a few pieces of like wood. You can't go into the ocean biome with it because it would be too deep. but maybe you could just use it to skirt around all of the coasts a little bit quicker. And then finally, the Mistlands. Now the Mistlands we have got some actual gameplay footage of. At the moment it's pretty empty. Going through though, it's pretty dark and terrifying. I could see this place being really scary, especially if they've got loads of different weird creatures. Maybe even more wraiths, as they only appear at night time in the swamp. If they're all sort of flying around in this area, that would be quite tough. So it will have new enemies, new items, a new boss and new resources. And that's everything that they have planned for this year. Now they did confirm also, Tornquist said that there's going to be a new biome added to the game and that each biome will contain its own boss. In total there's going to be 9 biomes in the game. They're also going to be adding some newer, smaller biomes to the game as well. In the finished version of the game there will be 9 biomes with 9 bosses, and then we're also exploring adding mini bosses and stuff like that, he said. So yeah, there will be more bosses coming. Again, this is where I think the Horde mode will come into it. I feel like mini bosses will be something that will happen as part of that. If we take a look at the original roadmap, underneath stuff that they've got maybe planned far in the future, or it's still really in sort of stages of planning, moon phases which could lead to maybe mini bosses appearing, and the Svolta Brigands. I think that could be also a unique kind of mini boss. Maybe a group of enemies that will come and attack your base every now and then, or as I said in my other video, maybe they'll actually just appear in random going across areas all over the world. Now at the moment I haven't finally decided how these biomes will be added to the game properly. If by any chance you're really loving the game, you may have gone and explored quite big portions of it. And when you check out a revealed map like I've got here, which you can do with cheats, go and check out my video on creative mode if you want to see some of that action and explore the whole of your map just by one click. They've said we're currently discussing how we're going to do that. From a technical standpoint, I can't really give you a clear answer right now. It's worth noting that Valheim currently contains some undeveloped biomes like the Deep North and ASHLANDS, and some players have come across unfinished Mistland areas, so potentially new biomes could be added without a major disruption to players' progress. Dates for the roadmap updates haven't been announced yet either, as Iron Gate is currently focused on fixing bugs in the short term. The whole team's working on fixing all the bugs that come to light when you suddenly get 1 million people, actually 2 million playing your game. We're 5 people by the way, so I have quite a lot to do, but as soon as we feel ready we'll begin working on the updates outlined in the roadmap. So there we go guys, exciting stuff, but there does need to be a little bit of patience. This isn't going to be a game that receives big updates every single month. A game that has massive potential and had millions of people playing it, albeit maybe more because of it being available on Xbox Game Pass. Grounded was huge when it came out last July, August. But since then it has kind of throttled a little bit. They've been adding content pretty much every month. Some of that content's been pretty juicy, but it still hasn't been enough to keep people playing the game for that much longer. Grounded suffers from not having a meta. It doesn't really have much more than base building, and you could argue that's very similar to Valheim, but it's far too easy to get a lot of the stuff that you need in Grounded, and it's a different kind of market. They're clearly obviously aiming this at a much younger audience, and the sense of progression just isn't there at the moment with Grounded. You can pretty much rattle through all the content, especially if you're experienced, in just under 2 hours. Now they do have a lot more going for it than other games. They've got more story, they've got more audio, they've got more little bits that you can find. But they do need something like a taming system, or they do need more sort of random events or more base defense features to make people maybe play this game a little bit longer. It's one of my biggest problems I have with Grounded and why I couldn't make this my #1 game. I absolutely loved it, but I ran out of stuff to really focus and do. I didn't want to just sit there every day only doing base building. Especially as the base building is good, but it still needs a lot more work to make it a little bit more unique and really make some of the bases stand out. Now you compare that to Valheim and it's just apples and oranges. The building in this game's amazing. I absolutely love it, the freeform nature of it. And although there are still some limitations in the tile sets at the moment, i.e. you can only pretty much make stuff out of the wood or the poles, or if you're lucky you've got enough stone, it still just offers a lot more variation, and it is a lot harder to get the materials if you're doing it legit. So all in all, the length that you'll play Valheim will be much longer because not only the resources you need to gather, but the way that you have to travel across a huge map and then really get prepared. You can't go into these biomes unless you've got potions, the best armors, and maybe even a team of people. Games like Grounded suffer like that because they don't necessarily need that. You can do everything on your own. There isn't that much preparation needed. you could pretty much fly through all the stuff they've been adding since August with just nothing more than a spear. Now, I'm not ragging Grounded out. As I said, I still think it's an amazing game. I actually just think this maybe didn't need to go in early access. It probably would have been better if they just kept on working on it and then delivered it as a full story-filled content game. And it would have been fine to play and have a short survival game that maybe only lasted 8 or 10 hours. They do have plans to add other content as well, but yeah, it's going to be a while. Players just aren't flocking to the updates each month because they're still not offering enough longer lasting gameplay. And Valheim seems to hopefully be breaking that trend. Officially, the highest point they've had was Monday, February 15th for 391,000 players. And it looks like that's going to go even bigger this weekend. This game isn't slowing down just yet, where so many other games do actually die pretty much after the first week. The exception to that rule is big, huge survival games like Ark that manage to keep or maintain their player base more or less all throughout their life. They've had huge spikes occasionally, but they've always had a base of around 50 to 70,000 players. That's what makes Ark the most popular survival game ever. But Valheim could certainly be giving it a run for its money. I've told you guys already how it's absolutely smashed the records from any other survival game going, but if it doesn't have enough reliable content, enough stuff to keep people involved for the next coming months, it could suffer the fate of games like Grounded a little bit, and it will eventually probably tail off. Doesn't make it a bad game, it just means that our expectations around updates, they do probably need to be limited. As I said, who knows, I really hope with all this money they must have received, I'll bet once they've paid their publisher and Steam, they'll have enough to maybe upscale and not go too mad. You don't want to destroy the dynamic of your development team, but definitely get some more people involved. We could hopefully see updates come to Valheim a little bit sooner. But yeah, from where I'm looking, it's looking likely we're only going to get a major update every sort of 2.5 to maybe 3 months, with smaller little updates in between them. Fingers crossed it'll be enough to keep everyone happy playing the game. The biomes themselves are pretty cool. We took a look at the Mistlands, but let's take a look at the Ashlands and the Deep North. Now the Ashlands obviously have got the Surtling monsters and we've got the Flametal. Now the Flametal at the moment you cannot do anything with. It's a resource that you can mine and you can go and smelt it into ingots, but it doesn't unlock any new recipes except for a flaming sword. Now this is actually only spawnable in, you can't actually craft it. I found this in the game files, so I thought I'd show a little bit to you today. And I probably will do another video looking at all the items that currently aren't in the game, or special items that you can maybe spawn in. So yeah, Ashlands, maybe have the tar pits involved, lots of the Surtling monsters, and maybe a variation on some of the gnomes, maybe make them fire based, or maybe an ash golem. Clearly going to be the real end game area you explore to get the best materials like Flametal. And considering it's nowhere near as much done as maybe the Mistlands, I do think that will be like one of the last biomes that get added. Probably maybe not even finished or completed until the game is ready to leave early access. And that's the smart thing to do to make sure that players will pick it up when it comes out of early access and leave a little bit of a surprise for everyone to enjoy. But then we also do have the Deep North, which is just really icy and cold. Lots of these icebergs, but not a lot else going on. It's hard to imagine why you would ever come up here unless they really expand on it and make huge just ice monsters, ice golems, or maybe it's an area where you can get something like black ice and that in turn unlock a brand new build material. A challenging area that maybe people will only be going just to get certain items. There we go, just a little preview of what to expect. Hopefully more info will come in future interviews. I'd love to get a chance to talk to these guys. I might even write an email and see if they would be willing to come and play a little bit of Valheim with me. We can maybe talk and discuss some of the stuff they love about the game and how they ended up basically making the game. So there we go guys, go and check out the rest of my survival content and Valheim guides. I've got a bunch up, all usual showcases, using a lot of cheats. I have just started playing legit on my server now, so expect lots of live streams of me probably struggling and dying a lot. Until next time rat bags, I'll catch you later.